Educate, entertain, enjoy.
You're listening to Aspen Waite Radio.
You are listening to Aspen Waite Radio, and this is Outstanding Paul on Monday's live show. And today we have the amazing Dr. Oksana Artiomenko. A very warm welcome to you, Oksana.
Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm honestly honored to be on the radio.
No, I'm very pleased to see when Oksana went into what room is it called, Drew?
Into the waiting room.
The waiting room. That Oksana has this sort of virtual boardroom behind her, which I always thought was real. So we used to have meetings, and I used to say, "Oh, I love that painting you've got." But she's actually got my favourite backdrop today. So we have they are sunflowers, aren't they?
Yes, this is the beauty of Zoom, having a Zoom call, so you can have a background you want.
No, I think we should do it. I think you and I should make it our life's mission to make sure that you work in a room like that one day.
Yes.
And then we could do a real thing. So, so who is Dr. Oksana Artiomenko? Let's start at the very beginning. So, as with many things, the reason I got to meet Oksana was down to the force of nature that is Rachel Wood. So Rachel Wood met Oksana and basically said to me, the whole world wants a piece of Oksana. You know, we ought to go and have a piece too, or something. So it was actually quite an auspicious day for Aspen Waite. So I actually remember the day very well. So I was doing a keynote speech in Reading, and this was the day that Ben Eltham had volunteered to film the event, which was an amazing success. And one of the things, just to give you a little taster of the quality of this lady here, Oksana is a bit like me, really, but not so daft, I would say. So she was sat in the front, which I always believe in. She was sat in the front, giving me a lot of emotional support, which she always does, which is one of the reasons I'm a bit of an Oksana fan. And of course, I was talking about disruption, I think, and sort of how to differentiate yourself from your competition in a marketing sense. And it was a very good presentation. And we sort of got to the end with the questions and answers, and we started talking about innovation, etc. And of course, Oksana sort of rather coolly sort of chipped in and started talking about the work she was involved in to do with was it stem cells and cancer treatment, Oksana? I can't remember exactly what it is.
Yes, it was one of the companies, one of the startups I used to work with. So
yeah, so it just made me look like really clever, you know. So I thought, oh, this can't be bad, can it? And of course, later on that day, I had a cup of tea with Ben Eltham, which eventually led to the formation of Aspen Waite Radio, and why Oksana... See, isn't it wonderful, Oksana? Life is symmetrical. The maker has a plan, you see. He joins us all up. So it's like everything's come full circle. So anyway, I'd agreed to meet Oksana in the same tea room where Ben and I eventually hatched Aspen Waite Radio. And I can't remember. I think I was already there, and you walked in. And I'm going to embarrass her tremendously now. So the first thing which was very clear to me was it was your overall intelligence, and I can't remember exactly why it was, but I was just sitting there thinking, wow, you know. This and of course what's been very interesting since then is that although I do now obviously regard you as very intelligent, that's not to me your defining characteristic, actually. So I'd say your humanity was, if you don't mind me saying. That can't be bad, can it?
yes, yeah. Thank you, Paul.
So I think, you know, one of the things, just passing on tips to you people listening today, because that's the whole point of this. I said this actually in my Friday show last week, that I think, you know, at the end of the day, life is all about people and meeting other people and making the most of your opportunities with other people. And if you meet the right people, then you can do a lot more working with them than you ever could on your own. So, right. And one of the things I remember saying to Oksana, "Where do you come from?" And she said she came from Odessa, and that's just like being a weirdo like me. That was just so cool. So Odessa is like, in my mind. So some of you may have heard of the book called The Odessa File, and there's a film, obviously, of it, and it's just like some sort of, I don't know, something in your imagination, and then you actually meet this real person that comes from Odessa. And of course, one of the things that also, I hesitate to say this, but Oksana could easily play a Bond villain, I think, with that name, or maybe even a Bond girl, or something in between. Just a name that lends itself to being in a film. So, tell me a bit about your upbringing in the Ukraine. Was it very different? What was the Ukraine like when you started? It must have been, obviously, you were born in a communist era.
Yes, yes, I was born in Soviet Union as a child, and then in 90s, the Soviet Union is separated, and it was a difficult time. So on that time, I went to medical university. So I will start from the beginning. We had 10 years in school, and then we had to have 5 exams to enter the medical university. But as I said, it was a difficult time.
Why was it difficult?
Because the stable situation in the Soviet Union, like you had as a child in the Soviet Union, finished. So many people ended up not having a jobs.
Okay.
It was a big crisis. So it was difficult for my parents as well. I mean, they had a job, but for all people, it was a difficult time.
So I see actually that when you first went to university, you did a business administration degree, did you?
No, my first degree was medical.
Oh, it was. So you did it the other way around.
Yes. So I passed my exams when I was 16, and I was, I think, youngest in my group when I started medical university. And I had 7 years in medical university.
Whoa.
And when my working career started as a consultant cardiologist, AstraZeneca offered me on that time to be a medical advisor and to prescribe the beta blocker. So I did. And then they asked me to present in a few conferences. And after that, they offered me again to be a medical advisor and lead the team, to build the team. So that's why I went to do my MBA, because I needed some business degree.
And that was still in the Ukraine, was it?
Yes, it was. Yes.
So where did which language you speak? Russian, English, and Ukrainian, is that right?
Yes.
And how different is Ukrainian from Russian?
It's like Italian and Spanish.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Yes, I would say there are so many similar words, but when I speak Ukrainian, Russian-speaking people will struggle to understand me, but Ukrainian people can understand Russian. Yes, because all the education on that time was in Russian in Soviet Union.
Oh, okay, so you were taught in Russian. So you spoke in Ukrainian at home, I take it?
There were both languages. We had Ukrainian as a subject, but all books, education, all subjects were in Russian.
So you worked for AstraZeneca actually in the Ukraine?
Yes, I started in my pharma career in Ukraine.
So what was it that made you want to go into medicine in the first place?
Oh, I wanted to be a doctor since I remember myself.
Why is that, though?
Around 5 or 6. I knew I want to be a doctor. That's it. I don't know how.
Do you like helping people? Is that what it was?
Yes. I think that's why, yes. I want to help people. I like to see people happy and healthy. That's why maybe.
Jolly good. Good for you. So when did you have your first foray into sort of international business? When was that? The
international started with Johnson & Johnson here. I used to work for Johnson & Johnson in Bracknell. And it was the international division. Codman was the international.
How did you get from Ukraine to Bracknell?
Right. I came to Ukraine because of my husband's work. So my husband and I, when we were working as a consultant cardiologists in a hospital, we were involved in the clinical trials as an investigators. But my husband was managing an international projects as well. So one of the companies he used to work with offered him to manage international projects from London. It was easy on that time, then manage everything from Ukraine. That's how we moved.
Oh, okay. And what were your first impressions when you entered the UK? And how, tell me some of the sort of the noticeable differences in culture and life, etc. Maybe even the weather.
To be honest, I love UK. I consider it as my home. I like the nature. Though Ukraine is beautiful, but I was born in Odessa, so it was like a holiday city. We had a beautiful Black Sea, very hot weather, plus 35 in the summer, minus 25 in winter. And in UK, it's very mild and nice weather, so I like it. But it's a bit more raining than I expected. But UK is beautiful and I love it.
What about food?
I would say UK food is very comforting. And in Ukraine, it is a different cuisine because we have a little bit of Mediterranean
I suppose,
food in our cuisine, but we also have a lot of comforting food as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, having been to Poland, for instance, many times, I would say Polish food was massively more comforting than the UK, for instance. Loads of dumplings and, things to warm you on a cold winter's night.
Little bit similar, we have some food from Poland, some influence from Poland, because Ukraine has a borders with Poland, and so many Catholics live on the east side of the Ukraine.
So if you look at Oksana's profile on LinkedIn, which is rather impressive, I would say. So let's write down a few notes here. So CV includes hospital rounds, pharmaceutical, medical devices, and clinical research. So just get this right. So you are a skilled cardiologist. Does that include being a surgeon?
I did a few procedures, but we decide if we would like to work on invasive procedures or we would like to treat the patients. Yes, I did, but I decided to treat the patients without invasive. But then later on in my career, I came back to this path, working for Vascutech and creating medical devices to treat aortic aneurysm. So I was teaching doctors how to do invasive procedures.
So was it sort of that you wanted? Was it you wanted to experience commercial life, or did you have enough of the sort of routine of being in a hospital, or what?
Do you mean later on in my career?
Well, obviously you started off, as a cardiologist, and then you obviously went into working for AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, etc. So, was that because you had wider aspirations than just being a doctor?
I think because I have a curious mind and I like everything new and interesting.
Okay.
I love cardiology and I liked my job to being a consultant, but there are so many interesting things around. And I also like the commercial side of medicine. So that's why maybe my career took me to AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Vascutech, and now I'm working in investment as well in healthcare.
Oh, very good. So I think we're going to pick your first track today, which is Feeling Good by Michael Buble. So I suppose before we start talking, is music an important part of your life?
Yes, of course. I listen music all the time to inspire
Why do you say
me.
of course? Why of course, Oksana?
Because I love music.
Yeah. Was that all kinds? Classical as well?
Yes, classical. I played piano.
I can see you playing the violin, actually.
No, I played piano.
I should get you to teach the violin now. Anyway, sorry. So you're playing the piano. Are you a good piano player?
No, I forgot everything now.
Oh, no, you've got...
Yes,
Hey,
I have
sign
to
her
go
up,
back.
Drew. We need Oksana in the band. So what's your favourite classical piece? What sort of composers do you like?
Honestly, I like everything, but I like Mozart.
Okay.
And yes, the piece of the, let me come back to the Happy by Michael Buble.
Yeah. Buble.
Michael Buble, yes. I have chosen this track because I love to see people happy. And I think when you feel happy, you can achieve so many things. Yeah. And nothing is impossible for you.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So, right, Drew, so take it away.
Paul Waite.
That was rather nice. I'm not sure I've heard that version before, Oksana. I was listening to that, actually thinking that would, when I was saying about you being in James Bond, I can just imagine when you first enter and 007 is looking at you and that's played in the background. It has a slight James Bond-esque sort of feel about that song, I think.
Yes, I like it very much. And when I play it, I really feel good. And I think I can achieve everything and feel happy.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with that. So going back to the sort of Ukrainian UK thing, what would you say? What are the key differences in people in the Ukraine and the UK in terms of their attitudes, characteristics, etc.? Can you do that?
Yes, of course. You know what? I can see a clear difference even when I go to visit my parents now, because we live in the UK for 16 years now, and I can clearly see a big difference because people in Ukraine are more stressed, more closed.
Okay.
In UK, people are more open, honest,
Really?
welcoming. Yes, I don't know.
You surprise me.
Maybe to me, I don't know. I like the culture, and yes, I think people in UK are more open-minded, to be honest.
Am I right in thinking that the Ukraine has some degree of Viking roots, or am I imagining that?
Yes, probably. The history goes back for many, many years, and I don't know. It started in a Kiev.
Yes,
it was a great Kiev. Yes, before the Russia formed.
I think Drew might be able to help me out here. In the Vikings, the final thing, there isn't
Ivor.
Not Ivor. There was his mate. The funny Ukrainian guy.
Oh,
he's in Kiev, isn't he?
Yes. Prince Oleg.
Prince Oleg, yeah.
Oleg. Yes.
Yeah, you must watch.
Ivor went over to Ukraine.
You must watch that, Oksana, because it's so good. Which is why I think Ukrainians are quite a lot of blonde people in Ukraine, aren't there?
Yes, there are so many blonde people. Yes, with blue eyes.
Yes, there we are. Not like you, of course.
No.
Drew's asked me to ask you a question. I was saying to Drew, actually, during the break when we were listening to your song, it's always very interesting when you've got someone like yourself, so there you are, 2 years ahead of where you should have been at 16, starting out on, on your medical studies, which in itself, I can say this personal experience. When I was at primary school, I was actually in the top class for 3 years in a row. And I'm quite pleased, actually. My parents made a conscious decision to keep me there. So I could have gone to grammar school like when I was 10 years old or something. And I did. There were people in school who I don't know what you call them, precocious or something. But I actually think it was better anyway. So I think your achievement is even greater. So there you are, 16 years old, and then I think that's the mark of great people is you're I think one of the words I would use for you is you're very humble, a very humble person, and your achievements appear to be effortless. It's like, yeah, so, I went from this and then I had this master's degree in this and I got this, so what, it's no big deal. So Drew is someone who finds studying harder, shall we say, as I know every week.
I'm more of a practical person.
Sorry, he's more of a practical person, apparently. So have you got any tips for studying? So,
You know what? I just completed executive finance course in Oxford.
Wow.
It just literally finished last week on Friday. Surprisingly, I had very high grades.
Might have been a surprise to you.
Yes, it was a surprise for me because last time I was studying, it was a long time ago. And I thought I would be bad, but yeah, I was surprised. Tips, you have to enjoy it. You have to be hunger to have a new knowledge. And it's interesting. If it's interesting for you, I think you will learn it. You will study. It was really, really hard.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Honestly, my last studying was really hard, but I really, really liked it and I enjoyed it because I was learning something new.
Yeah, it's interesting. Without sort of becoming insufferably arrogant or something. This is me, not you. My brain now is probably at its highest level since I was about 10. So I was officially a genius when I was 8, I think, and then found school quite difficult for social reasons more than my brain. You know what I mean? And my brain didn't. So I think my innate intelligence sort of got me out of trouble rather than made me a genius, if you know what I mean. Whereas I think now my brain has has come into its own. And for instance, some people find this hard. I think there's no doubt of all the presenters on Aspen Waite Radio. I have to put a lot more effort into my shows because I'm producing original stuff, which includes even doing the sport. But I genuinely don't need any notes now. I mean, I could tell you all of the football results of all our teams, and I think. It'd be interesting your view on this. I think I haven't done a study on this, and maybe you and I should. I think it's certainly in my case. I think my brain has responded to use, if you know what I mean. So so one of the things
more you train it, the more.
So one of the things I do, Drew, is I watch University Challenge every day. It's a true story.
It's like making learning a habit. By getting into routines like you watching that every day and stuff. It's training your brain to kind of make it more easier to learn. That sounds cool.
Yes, Paul. Honestly, I think I'm so happy to have you in my life, and I think you're one of the most cleverest men in my life I met. And I agree with Drew. When you learning and studying every day or every week intensively, your brain is working, and it means that you keep life and you keep more energetic and you can create more new things, because I think this is a routine. You have to have a routine of studying.
What do you think about health, Oksana, as in keeping your body fit? Is that good for your mind as well? Because I've seen a lot of things about the exercise and how good that is for your memory also.
Okay, first of all, it's good for memory when you read a lot, when you study a lot, you keep your mind working and your brain cells are not dying. but developing. But if you keep fit, for example, cycling, like Paul does, a lot of miles, yes, of course, it keeps your body fit, nice, energetic, and you have a lot of energy to do things and to study something new.
Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So what sports do you like, Oksana?
I like yoga.
Is that a sport?
It's
Fitness.
yoga.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was child, I did a judo.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I had a black belt.
A black belt in judo. Oh, it's surprising me even more.
Can you come round here and kick Drew's bum?
Yeah, how are you achieving all these things in your life? Seriously.
No, I was a child. I started at judo when I was 8 years old, and I was doing it until 16 or 17 when I went to university. So it was around 10 years I did it.
So you're actively interested in, conventional sport like running, football maybe? You're allowed to say no.
No, I would say no. I like tennis.
Okay.
I enjoy because I think tennis is very challenging sport. It's when you do tennis, you not only work with your body and brain, it's about achievement and you want to win. So when you start tennis from the young age, it gives you an opportunity to learn how to be a winner.
I have to say, of all the sports I've ever played, I used to like tennis more for the cerebral side of it, sort of working out how to beat somebody. But I think in terms of pure competitiveness and the sort of almost like a gladiatorial type thing, squash, I think, is the greatest game in the world, personally. I just love the sort of the banter and the sort of sports psychology side of it as well as the skills. So you basically you're this clever cardiologist person. You've come to the UK. You've got international experience. I think I'm right in saying, didn't you go to America a lot for a period? What were you doing there?
Yes, I did. I was a senior executive for a clinical research company called MedPace. So this company did a clinical research for the pharma companies. For example, if small biotech or big pharma like AstraZeneca have created a new molecule, new drug to treat, I don't know, whatever, cancer or something else, the molecule has to go through the clinical studies. Okay, and there are special companies like clinical research companies who help pharma companies to make a clinical studies and take a drug to the market. So I was responsible for the European Union and for the part of the US as well. So I went to the Cincinnati quite often, and we had a head office there as well.
Which country that you've had to do business in would you say was the most difficult to do business in?
You know what? We had an office in Milan. I love Italy. And I like Italian people, but they have a special culture,
You mean sort of bit shady? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
So the Godfather wasn't called Corleone for a reason. That's what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the sort of Sicilian side. Yeah, have you done business in France, for instance?
Yes.
And that was okay, was it?
Yes, there are a few pharmaceutical companies in France as well who we worked with to conduct the clinical trials. France is okay. France has a special culture, and I think people in France are very different to other people.
Well, I think it's interesting. I was doing some research for a show I'm doing later in the week about what's going on, and so I'm gonna have great delight in resuming the old Anglo-French rivalry. So of course this week we've had two big incidents with the French. Of course you'll know, well you probably won't know, but basically England and France have been at war or similar for the best part of 955 years, I think, to be precise of these things. And I think, there's a great comment from Peter Hitchens in the Sunday Mail yesterday, and he said, the French still haven't got over Waterloo, and maybe we wouldn't either if we'd lost, And I also think, I mean this sincerely, I think they have a real problem with the fact that, in effect, if it wasn't for Britain, the French would have never been rescued in the Second World War, for instance, Yeah, it's quite interesting, the rivalry between England and France. Anyway, so let's come on to your second piece of music today, which is got a very appropriate and uplifting title. So, are you a Queen fan?
Yes, I am.
Did you go back from the start, or did you sort of find them halfway through their journey, so to speak?
I remember them since I was a teenager. I think when they just started in Soviet Union, we had music.
Yeah. When you came out the Gulag, yeah, turn right.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm a big fan of Queen, and I like almost everything.
So why did you pick We Are the Champions? Probably because of the title, I guess.
No, because I like the energy of the song, and I like to think that we all are champions, to be honest, if we want it.
Sweet. Come on, Drew.
This is Paul Waite on Aspen Waite Radio.
Of course, that piece of music sort of becomes synonymous with things like Champions League finals and silly footballers running around holding pieces of metal. I thought that was. I wrote down some of the lyrics while I was listening to that. So one of the things I've been, I often say when I'm doing presentations is, because what tends to happen is you get this. Well, I find it impossible. In fact, last Friday in my show, I actually refused. I said to the presenter, I can't put up with this sort of diatribe about me anymore. I just cringe every week, So when you sort of get presented to people when you're doing presentations, you tend to get presented as a sort of this great successful person, and of course, as the song says, life isn't like that. It's no bed of roses. It's every day is a challenge to some extent. And one of the things I often start my presentation is to say, "Hello, my name is Paul Waite. I've made every mistake a man can make." And of course, as Freddie says early on in that song, "Bad mistakes, I made a few." I thought the other things that are worth talking about is no time for losers, because we are the champions. And of course, the other thing which would summed up my sporting career, for instance, would be keep on fighting to the end. So you literally had to scrape me off whatever I was doing for me to lose. So I think, going back to what Drew was saying about studying, I think a lot of it comes down to commitment and how much you want something.
Having that motivation, having that commitment, that drive to want it.
Yeah, one thing, I've late in my life sort of come into a Churchillian-esque load of rhetoric, and one of the things I talk about quite often is what I call sincerity of ambition. And what I mean by that is a lot of people say they have ambition, and then there's the reality, and I think so I think sincerity is a great thing. Now, of course, one of the things you say on your LinkedIn profile, Oksana, is that your key focus is people. So, tell us a bit about that if you can.
Yes, of course. First of all, I must tell you that I love people.
Someone's got to, haven't they? That's good.
Yes, I love people, and I like to communicate with people. I like to find their interesting. But in a business, if we talk about the business, for
Yeah, of course.
example, in investment, it's all about people. For example, someone created a new piece of technology. It doesn't matter healthcare or not healthcare. Person could be very clever, create something new and beautiful, but if he or she will not be able to deliver, the technology will die and this beautiful piece of creation will die. And this is all about people. If people are capable, have a strong character, have a vision in their life, would like to implement things, would like, for example, like in healthcare, to help other people and achieve their goal, to take the new product on the market, a new medical device to help someone to survive. That's how the business will grow, and that's how the new piece of the technology will be on the market. So it's all about characters. It's not about how clever you are and what you invented. No, it's about who you are and how you take your vision to other people.
Well, I've never thought about it like that before. That's really true. So it's almost not the technology; it's the people and the drive behind that technology that they have. It almost reminds me of like Nikola Tesla, amazing man, amazing inventor, did all of this stuff with technology, but he died on his own in a hotel room, lonely, you know, and he didn't. It's like character-wise, he didn't push his technology enough or something.
Well, he didn't meet the right people, did he?
Yeah, you know, that. So yeah, that really kind of brought home that what Oksana said there. It reminded me of that.
No, I tell us. Sorry, Oksana. Sorry.
Yeah, because in investment world, when people or banks or venture capitals or angel investors invest in the startup, they invest in people, not in the technology.
So what? Yeah. So this is a good one. So obviously, in terms of passing on your years of experience and advice, particularly now in your role as I don't know, as a government advisor actually as well, aren't you? Your role in Innovate UK. What do you think is? Tell us some of the things that people must do when they're presenting a case, or indeed when they're starting up a business. You know, what is the Oksana checklist?
Yes, first of all, it's all about people again.
Indeed.
Second of all, it's about the technology. And person who creates something or presents something to the investors or to apply for the government grant has to describe a problem. What the problem in the market? What gap in the market? I mean, in healthcare, what kind of device doesn't exist to treat the certain problem? So they have to think about the problem. They have to tell about their device or technology and how their technology will resolve this problem or help people. Doesn't matter what industry, and how they better from their competitors. What the unique selling points for the competitors. Of course, the financial part plays important role as well. So how much money do they need? Where this money will go to create a prototype, to recruit a new sales team or marketing team, and their exit strategy. They have to think about the exit strategy as well. If they would like to sell their company in the future, or they would like to grow, or they would like to go IPO, or they would like to do mergers and acquisitions. So this is important as well.
Yes, no, it's interesting. I mean, you know, I think, I totally agree with you about the people thing. I mean, I remember, I'll tell the story quite a lot. I can remember being involved with a world-beating technology, for instance. I took a corporate bank manager down to look at the plant. Having given him a business plan beforehand, we got back in the car. This was a dour Scotsman who was not renowned for his optimism. We got in the car on the way back and he said, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, it is as good as you said it is. He said the only thing that could stop this is people, because people can ruin everything. And funnily enough, within weeks of him saying that, they did. And so there was so I think you said something very wise earlier. So we can all be champions if we want to be, and also I'm a great believer that all people, at times in their lives have chances and opportunities, and it's what you do when you have those opportunities that marks, the happy, successful person from the person who ended up like Tesla or Van Gogh, for instance.
This is Paul Waite on Aspen Waite Radio.
I personally think dreaming or having a vision or having the ability to escape. So when I was a child, my brain was in some strange alien planet, because I loved to read Robert Heinlein and Edgar Rice Burroughs and fantasy fiction and science fiction, and I think having that sort of escape and letting your mind go is all part of the character building. Anyway, so we've had 53 minutes of Oksana and we've only got 6 minutes left. So let's talk a bit about COVID, if that's all right. It's interesting, one of the things that I find incredibly frustrating is we obviously had the local elections last week, and almost without exception, people like Mark Drakeford, who is the First Minister in Wales, for instance, all did very well in polling. And it's I read which to me is just makes me incredulous. The BBC's take on this was that the people were thanking those that had saved them, which I personally think is complete hogwash. But let's hear it from a real proper scientist.
Right. Okay. UK has now good progress, and 76% of population has been vaccinated already, even if they had only first dose of vaccine. Okay, but with this vaccination, it's good to have, but it doesn't mean that you will not catch the virus. Okay, you can catch it, but your body will have a stronger ability to fight it with vaccination, which help some vulnerable people with diseases or elderly people. But I hope that this pandemic will finish soon and we will be able to freely hug and kiss our relatives and friends and go for a holiday.
What do you think? Do you actually think? I watched a very good presentation by an American lady doctor, scientist, last week, and she was basically saying with great reason, that basically most of the government's and media's take on COVID was a lie, and presented some amazingly powerful statistics to prove her point. She was also so I just wonder, because I know people in this position, do you think beyond all doubt that the vaccines are safe, for instance?
To be honest, I had my first vaccine as well, and I was better off without vaccine because I took it very badly. I was feeling really bad for 1 week.
Yeah.
I still have some, weakness periodically. But about the different facts about vaccines, about COVID, it's first of all, COVID is very small and the mask doesn't cover from the COVID molecule, COVID virus to go through. Okay, this is the first thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It will protect you when other people coughing or sneezing. Yes, from the microparticles, but the virus, it's not safe from the virus. First of all, second of all, people use different statistics.
Yeah, of course.
We all know in the UK, even when person died from the cancer and had COVID positive, they put it in a COVID statistic, not in the cancer statistic. So the statistic is very different. That's why I don't think we can rely on it, to be honest. And plus, when we saw on the TV different kind of statistics, it wasn't right, because on the graph it was the statistic from the past 3 months, for example. I noticed it when we had a broadcasting on the BBC or something. So it was not the right statistic on that time of the presenting. So it's all uncertain, I would say, about the COVID and vaccines. Vaccine will prepare your immune system to fight the virus, but will not cover you from having a COVID.
No, it's interesting. I think. I've actually given up getting upset about it, to be honest with you. As someone who tries to have a positive attitude to life, I just sort of accept the game as it is. If you know what I mean. It's like when you're playing sport, you can only play what's in front of you. Your opponent is what he is. And the world is what it is. But I think there will be a lot of people who will miss COVID. That might sound, you see people. I see people on their bicycles, quite good people, on road bikes, with face masks on, and I think, who are you frightened of? I've had conversations in supermarkets with people telling me off if they think I'm too close to them and things like that. So it does make you shudder. Anyway, so we've only got 40 seconds left now. Wow. So that was the end of our second big live show with special guest today, Dr. Oksana Artiomenko. So thanks ever so much, Oksana. I know Oksana was a bit nervous, so you did really well, and it's great to have someone with so much to say. And thank you also for your musical choices, which were very interesting. I think it's and I like the sort of happy, people-centric thing. So, if anyone has any questions arising from today, Paul at aspen-waite.co.uk. Look forward to joining you tomorrow. Over to the news. See ya, guys. Thanks.
Online, on DAB, and on the Aspen Waite Radio.